bless you and to thank you for this day and ask for guidance and your presence. Please be with me on this day while I'm dressing. Let me thank you for these clothes. You've been faithful in providing, and it shows. So I thank you for my blessings. You're so gracious. Thank you.
Well, hello. Welcome to the Well After Hours. I'm your host, Beverly Allen, and I'm so glad that you can join us another Thursday at the Well to welcome my wonderful returning guest, Wincey Terry-Bryant. Wincey, welcome back to the Well After Hours. It's been a minute.
Thank you for having me. You know, I always call you Lady B. Thank you for having me, Lady B. I so appreciate the invitation.
Oh, I'm glad to have you here. When you were here last year, there was no pandemic. But
That's right.
Came, yeah. And now we're in the midst of a pandemic as well as a lot of other things, but thank God we're here.
Yeah. Yes. Amen. Thank you, Lord.
And, you know, I'm going to put your bio online so that everybody could see it because it's extensive. You are a multifaceted woman who does so many things. In fact, the last time you were here, you were bringing awareness to a very important and serious issue, which was human trafficking of young children and young adults. And it was so informative. It was so enlightening. And I thought, here you are. You're an educator, an author, a songwriter, a producer. I mean, you do so, and that's just a few of the things on the list. You do so many things, but yet you take time for these causes that you put your heart and soul in, besides being a wonderful woman of God as well. But I just say to myself sometimes, where does she get the time? But that's why they say, if you have a job you want done, give it to a busy woman. So the Lord's like, that's my girl.
That's how it goes, right? Seems so. Yeah, seems so.
It's so wonderful, you know, and I think about it ever since you came that day and thought about it. I mean, I had given thought, you know, really intermittently to human trafficking and thinking about how difficult. And then when you were, you know, having that very big kind of broad awareness program last year and brought so much attention to that, it just stuck with me. So to really think, you enlightened me about even our community that we live in, you know, so many of the causes you represent, you know, awareness in our communities, in our cities, in our state, on a state level, even on a national level. And you are so involved. And I'm so happy for the viewers who don't. If they don't know you, they better hurry up and Google you because your whole background has been so phenomenal. Oh my goodness.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you for giving me this platform to share what's on my heart, what's going on currently. And I know when you contacted me about coming back, I'm grateful that you have human trafficking on your radar now, because a lot of people are under the misnomer that it's not happening now because there's a pandemic, but there's actually been a 200% spike in calls from children who are being abused, and these traffickers are finding new ways to traffic children even during the pandemic and to groom them for when they will be able to access children. And there are so many things going on in the world and so many good causes. And I appreciate you allowing me to kind of segue into another thing that has really recently grabbed my heart. And I'm still, you know, the arts co-chair of the New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking, and I am still the producer of that event, Traffic Jam. And a friend of mine on the coalition contacted me about a post she wanted to do and asked me would I proofread it. And the beautiful thing about having all of these, you know, different touch points in your life and all of these different relationships is that you get to experience people in a way that you wouldn't if you were segregated by like your neighborhood or by your school or by your career. And so my friend on the coalition contacted me and said she was doing something for her church, and they put a team together, and she learned about something called The Talk. And she said, I suspect that you know what it is. I said, I absolutely know what it is. And she said, she's a white woman, and she said, I want to post something about The Talk. And so when you contacted me, I said, oh, Lady B, would you mind if we raised awareness about The Talk now? Because for you and me and for people in, in our neighborhood and in our inner circle, they're all familiar with The Talk. But there's a whole group of people in the outer circle who we might come in contact with who don't know that there is The Talk. Yeah, so I'd love to dig into that today.
Yes, I'm clearing the way for you to do this, and I'm going to actually, for the viewers' sake, thank God that we have a teaser that for The Talk that I'm going to, allow the viewers to see, in the interview today, so they will know how relevant it is and when it's coming up. So it'll trigger in their mind to look out for it, because it's going to actually be aired on next Tuesday, the 18th, August
Right.
the 18th. And at what time is it? 7:30?
It's 8 p.m.
8 p.m. Okay.
August 18th, and it's going to be on Facebook Live, on Facebook Live on the Facebook page, Moms Talk Justice.
Yes, and all that information is going to be on as well, so they'll see that as well. So, but I'm just so grateful, and all this is orchestrated by, I believe, the hand of the Lord. I mean, timing. Who can pull his timing together? That's why when you said it, when we were trying to, going crazy. I went to bed real late, but I'm like, this is a must. This is a must, because it was so orchestrated by the Lord, and I always want to be in his will, because I know he'll bless, whatever he has given vision for. So I thank the Lord, for that, for you and for all that you do, and how the Lord is using you in this. There's no sense in me reinventing the wheel. If I have a platform, I might as well give it to someone who's using it well. So I thank God for that. So I'm going to let you take it away and tell us all about Moms Talking Justice and The Talk.
Yes, The Talk. So for my African-American sisters and brothers, we know that The Talk is a staple in the African-American household. But for those of you who might be watching and you're not sure what talk I'm talking about, it's not the facts of life talk. That's the talk that we all have with our family members and our children. But there's another talk that's very prevalent in the African-American household. And that is the talk about what to do if you are stopped by the police. And my friend, Susan Panzica, on the New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking, said that when she was doing a ministry project and they paired her with some of the other ladies in her church, they put some African-American women on her team. And when she went, they met at her house, I believe. And when she stepped out of the room to get some refreshments or something. And when she came back in, they were talking about The Talk. And they all had children who were coming up on like 17. So they all had boys who would be driving soon. And she just assumed that The Talk was about girls. And the more she listened, she realized that, The Talk was about how to get home safe. And she was surprised, because she said, all her husband and all she and her husband had to talk to her son about was like, don't speed and, just drive carefully and don't drink and drive, things like that. But this was a whole layer to the conversation that she had with her child that she didn't even know was a necessity. And she said she was so disturbed by it that she was telling her husband on a family trip right after that. And her daughter heard it and said, Mom, you got to do something. So she wrote, she's a beautiful writer, and she wrote something about, The Talk or whatever happened. But when when we started to experience all this unrest in the country, the unrest that we're experiencing now in 2020 with all the racism, and it's bringing racial microaggressions to the forefront. And let me just sidebar and define that, because a lot of people are not really clear what these microaggressions are. So little things that they say, it's like death by 1,000 cuts. Little things like, oh, you have good hair, or you have bad hair, or, oh, that black boy is so tall, he must be a baller, he must play basketball, or you talk really good for a black person, or you don't act like you're from Newark, or you must be able to dance, you're black. Things like that. Those are microaggressions that they're little tiny things that are offensive that people might not even mean offensively, but they say them really kind of out of ignorance. They don't know that that's really not a compliment. That's an insult. That's a precursor to prejudice. You have a certain expectation of me based solely on the color of my skin. So you expect me to be able to dance, or you expect me to speak a certain way because of the color of my skin. Or if I'm tall and black, then I must be a basketball player. Things like that. So those are what you call microaggressions. When you say little things like that, even whether or not you intend to offend, they are offensive, and they're micro, they're little things. So by the time we've heard it, 1,000 times throughout our lifetime, we may defend, or we may get upset. What I'm choosing to do through this Mom Talks Justice platform is to educate, because I know that I have a lot of white friends, and I know that just because you are white doesn't mean that you're prejudiced. Just because I'm black doesn't mean I can dance. Just because you're white doesn't mean you hate black people. Just because I'm black doesn't mean I hate white people. And so I thought that this would be a great opportunity to share. So when Susan called me and asked me if I would proofread this document that she wrote, because she's so grieved by the elevation and the excavation of racism, it's like it's rampant now. It's not that it wasn't there. It is just that it seems that people have a liberty now, the liberty to express their racism freely, without penalty. So on the heels of George Floyd and Ahmaud and Breonna and all of these people whose names we know, and then those whose names we don't know, recent hangings of African-American children, Black people, police brutality, things like this, she was really bothered by it. And I said to her, I'm so grateful that you have such an awareness and that you want to do something about it. I will certainly proofread your document, but I want to challenge you to go just a little bit further. Would you consider having periodical meetings where you call your white girlfriends together and maybe have some conversations about this? Because it would be a lot easier for them to trust you when you say, some Black girls, and they're not like the Black girls that the news decides to portray. Exactly. Some Black men, and they're not like the Black men that the news chooses to portray. Those are not the images that really represent all Black people. They would trust you before they would trust me. They might say, well, she's just one, but we see them on the news all the time. So she did something, she said something which I thought was really, she's an enlightened person. And she said, I don't feel that I have, that I can do this by myself. I feel like I can't speak for everyone, but we could come together. If you would join me, we could come together and we could get some people together and have some conversations, and through stories we could build bridges. And so I said, you should start a Facebook group, and she did, and she invited some of her friends, and I invited some of my friends, and it's a Moms Talk Justice Facebook group. You don't have to be a mom. We invite aunties and sisters and girlfriends and grandmothers and everybody who cares about people, because we feel that I have always felt, I do a women's history program in the schools when I travel and I take my cast, and one of the things that I say in the play is that what could be more important than impacting generations to come? That's something that women have the ability to do innately. Like you may not be a mother, but you could be like maternal. You, as a woman, might have the instinct to steer and to educate and to coddle and nurture people. And so we have the opportunity to have a huge impact on the following generation and generations to come. But it's going to take us being enlightened and educated so that we can shift our perspective. And the only way I can really shift my perspective about a person, I heard Michelle Obama say it when I went to see her. She said, it's hard to hate up close. Mm-hmm. She said when she moved into the neighborhood, when her family moved into the neighborhood and there was white flight, she said they weren't running from me personally. They didn't know me personally. They didn't know that they were running from the future FLOTUS, the First Lady of the United States. They were running from my Black skin because they had not experienced my family. And back to what I was saying about certain industries and neighborhoods give you access to people in a way that you might not have if you live someplace else. So I was raised in Newark. Right across the street from me, there was a white family. Then my parents put me in a private school in Irvington. And so I went to school with all nationalities of people. And then I became a musician, and music, that is like a big melting pot. So I could be on the bandstand with all white people, all Black people, all like Asian people, like everybody loves music. So I didn't even have like a real awareness to like the segregation of history, like Black history. I hadn't even heard of it until I was like well into middle school, and I just kept hearing them talk about like Black history, but they only talked about a couple of people. There was Harriet Tubman, there was Dr. Martin Luther King, there was Rosa Parks, and that was like the only 3 Black in the world and in my family. And so I had to learn that later, but I'm excited about this opportunity to bring white women together, because when we talked about it, when Susan and I talked about it, and we pulled another couple of ladies in, and I said, we have to decide what we want. I know what I want out of this group. I want people to know what I know about people. What I know is that every Black woman is not angry, because my Black girlfriends teach me that. Every white woman is not prejudiced, because my white girlfriends teach me that. Every Black man is not dangerous, because my beautiful sons and my wonderful husband teaches me that. So if we can experience each other as individuals and not as a race, not as a stereotype, not as a news article, then we can know what I know about people. Don't believe the media. You have to encounter each of us as individuals. Yes. And that's what Moms Talks Justice about.
Wow, that is so awesome. When you were talking, you made me think about what Martin Luther King's dream was when he said, when a man will be judged by the content of his character and not by the color of his skin,
Right.
And right. So, it's unfortunate that there aren't enough positive images or representation of us throughout the media.
Right.
And,
right.
And that's one of the biggest problems, is because they see only the negative, so they think they judge the whole, group by that. So I think this is fantastic that the bridge building that is going to take place, and I've seen where there are groups all over across the country that are starting to form that, and it seems like the women are in the lead and the forefront of that, as always. And you know what? It's going to take the women really because they say the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. So, with children, the way we raise our children, because we seem to have more time with them than the men do, we're going to have to instill that and help that process of getting understanding, about each other and break down the barriers. And, having said that, I want to tell the viewers, we're just going to take a quick break. Don't go away. We're going to let you see the teaser that has been done for Moms Talking Justice about the talk. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Have you heard about the talk? No, not that talk.
I remember the first time I heard about the talk. No, not the Facts of Life talk, but the talk that moms have with their Black sons. And I remember the impact that it had on me.
Rules of survival.
10 rules of survival if stopped by the police.
My husband and I have 3 adult sons, all college grads, all assets to society.
I was shocked and deeply saddened when my friend told me that she had the talk with her son, who is just 7 years old.
Your goal is to get home safely.
Your goal is to get home safely.
Not only do we still have talk brush-ups, but now they have the talk with each other. On August 18th, Moms Talk Justice is calling all women. You don't have to be a mom. We welcome aunties, sisters, friends, any woman who cares about people. We believe that if we come together and share our stories, we can better understand and connect. We can build bridges when moms talk justice. On August 18th, after you've had your dinner, after you've put the kids to bed, meet us on Facebook Live. That's Tuesday, August 18th at 8 p.m. Search Moms Talk Justice on Facebook. Spread the word.
So welcome back. I'm sure you enjoyed that teaser. And don't forget, on Tuesday, August the 18th at 8 p.m., Facebook Live. Don't miss this. Invite your friends, invite your neighbors, and call everybody in your church group, to really get in on this conversation and be a part of it, because it is necessary. It is so necessary. We can't have any of our young men, and I mean now in our young women as well, you know what I mean, to keep that testosterone under control and not be angry, because the point is to make it home safe, as they say. So, Wincey, is this going to be an ongoing, do you think, so far? Have they talked about that?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked that. And I said to my friends in the group, Susan Panzica and Kim Wolf, that it's important that we keep the conversation going, because as people have different experiences, they'll need someplace safe to have the conversation. Again, the issue with you having maybe one Black friend or, one white friend is that becomes the representative for the entire race. So if you happen to have one prejudiced white friend or one angry Black friend, then that is the prototype or the archetype for the race. And there's a platform that I heard about called, it's by Dr. Ibram, about how to be an anti-racist. And a lot of people we don't even know to the levels that we are racist until we start to have the conversation and really just open our mind. So I want people to know, I'm not trying to change your mind. First, I'd like you to open it and just, again, experience us as individuals. So we already have on the calendar a conversation that we want to have in October about back to school, because mothers are having some anxiety, of course, about how you are going to integrate your children back to school, and then how school is going to be so different with the social distancing and then with the racial unrest. So children who normally played together have now been made aware that their skin is a different color from their friend's skin, which, again, children, you're not born hating. You have to be taught that.
Mm-hmm.
So where you never notice that your friend has a different color skin from you, now going back into the classroom with like interracial classrooms, the teachers are charged now with the responsibility of keeping racial harmony, teaching the children, enforcing distancing, making sure everybody's healthy. There's so much weight on the classroom teacher and on the parents. So we already have on the calendar in October, I think it's the 3rd, if you go to momstalkjustice.org, you can see on the calendar what the next conversation is. And I'm hoping that we'll have a conversation maybe every other month or every 3 months, and open the conversation up for the mothers and the women to say what's on your mind and what you'd like to talk about. Because I certainly don't expect for you to hear, 3 ladies speak one time and then you got it. Like, oh, okay, I realize I was racist. I'll never be racist again. I get it now. The first thing we want you to understand is the disparity. Like, you think your household is like my household, but it can't be, because when my boys leave, I have to tell them everything you told your boys. Don't drink and drive, be careful, make good decisions. But then I also have to tell them, if you get stopped, put your hands on the wheel, turn your car off, keep your hands where the police can see them at all times. Don't talk back. Don't, dial somebody on your phone, keep the video running. So these are all things that people of other races have never had to deal with. Not everybody, because I know we have the BIPOC, so we have Black and Indigenous people of color. Yes. So I'm not talking about those people, but I'm talking about if you have no color in your skin, mm-hmm. you have you don't know experientially. Mm-hmm. You might know informationally, mm-hmm. but you don't know experientially how terrifying it is for our Black men to be in the street, going to work, going wherever they're going, and then for a Black woman to be home praying that he gets back here
every day. And if he's late, your heart goes in your throat, because you don't know, especially if they're usually consistent about being on time. Right. The first moment that they're or the phone rings and they're not there, it's like, and right. people just don't really understand that.
Absolutely.
It really it's such a stressful time, yep. for people of color.
Right.
And, being able to have I would commend the women who have agreed to be a part of it, because it takes courage.
Nice.
It takes courage to hear, nice. Because so many people say, oh, well, I wasn't a part of that generation. I'm not responsible for what they did then. But you don't understand. Silence is consent.
Yes.
Yep. If you don't Absolutely. Say anything about it, you're actually putting a stamp of approval on it.
Yes.
And so right. until you really, talk about it and can engage in some conversation to begin, to open yourself and your eyes. And I know a lot of people don't want to talk about it, because they means, now that I have this information, mm-hmm. what am I going to do with it?
Right. I'm so glad you said that, because that is exactly what this platform and forum is about. Because I see people posting things like, dear white people, say something, dear white people, do something. But the reason that this platform is launching Moms Talk Justice is because I think that there are some of us who are charged with the responsibility, we just feel it innately, to educate people in what next steps are. Yes, do something, but do what? If the tables were turned, I'm not sure I would know what to do. Exactly. So if you tell me what to do, now you can hold me responsible if I don't do it. Mm-hmm. But if you just tell me to do something, I might think that I am doing something. Mm-hmm. I had some people reach out to me on Facebook, and some people inbox me, and some people call, and they felt that that was the extent of what they knew to do. So that's why they're on the Moms Talk Justice Facebook page. There are resources, articles that you can read, and we just asked everybody we asked everybody to start by telling your story. And we have a lot of African-American women on there telling their story. People who know me know that I'm a professional singer, and I've worked with Sting and Tina Turner, and I worked on the Cosby Show, and I was on the road with Moni Love and Heavy D and Monetha, and people look at that life and say, oh my gosh, you lived the life. But there's a flip side to that. So on the Moms Talk Justice Facebook page, I shared the story about how all of the time when I first got into the industry, I was doing these dates called club dates. Club dates are not nightclubs, they are country clubs. And I worked with an all-white band. And on the contract, which I happened to see one day, it said BF. And I thought it meant best friend, but it meant black female. Which I learned later. So they would sell the band, and they'd sell pieces on the band. And so they'd sell a black female, not like the person was asking for me in particular. They just wanted a black female singer on their bandstand. So that in and of itself is racist. But again, I'm new to the industry, and a lot of times that you are experiencing situations that you don't know how to label yet. So I didn't even think of it as racist. I just thought like, oh, they needed a black female. So just like you pick a guitar, you say, I want a guitar and a black female, but I didn't think of it in terms of like racism. So the policy was that the band must enter through the back door because you don't go in through the front with your instruments, and it's kind of like a smoke and mirrors thing. When they open the ballroom, the entire band is there, all set up, and the guests don't know how they got in there. They're all dressed up. But one day I happened to arrive at the same time as my white counterpart, so we all went like in together, like to the front door together, and they made me go around the back, and they let the rest of the band in the front. Yes.
What period of time was this about? What year? Do you remember?
This is the
60s,
early
70s, 80s?
No, this is the 90s. Yes, this is the 90s. Yes, absolutely. And for the duration of the time that I worked in that industry, I would have those experiences like microaggression. So when the band would take a break, they would we would all go to the bar to get like soda and water and juice or whatever, and they would sometimes give me a paper cup. They give the rest of the band glasses, but they give me a paper cup. Or even worse, they would sometimes send me into the kitchen to get my own drink. Right. So those are, it makes me think about the stories that I hear about, like, Sammy Davis and Ella Fitzgerald and, Lady Day and things like that. But this was not that long ago. I'm talking, the late. So it's interesting to hear people on the Moms Talk Justice Facebook page share their stories, because unfortunately, so many of us have had experiences like that we have tried to bury. But when you look at my life, you say, oh, you're on the road, you're working with people, you make lots of money, but you don't know the flip side to my experiences.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. When I think of growing up, we grew up in a multicultural neighborhood as a kid, They were Irish, Italian, African American. The men all went to the same bar, and the young guys, my brothers, they all worked on their little hot rod cars together and sold back and forth, things like that. And when my mom got sick and when she went into the hospital, I was in elementary school, and we had a neighbor, and she was Italian. And she knew that my mother was really ill at that time, and she was going to be away for a time. She cooked for us all while my mother was in the hospital. Well, I'll never forget her. I mean, so I had so many good experiences, culturally that, we see it on TV, but to have had that experience, it's hard for me to accept, how could I have grown up at a time like that, and experience that to come to this, to think, because it gave me a whole different perspective. I just didn't think that, white people were racist at all, because they had been so good to us. The mothers, the women all looked out for us. My dad was working. We came home from school. They made sure we were in the house, and it was just a whole collective group of women, It was
Right.
a village, diverse village of women that looked out for us. And it's just amazing, you know, that's why I said it's going to take women because
Right.
moms rule from the heart, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Absolutely. And that's exactly what I'm saying. So you had those experiences early on, like me. I went to a culturally diverse school. So by the time I grew up and had that experience on the bandstand, I had already had enough interactions with people of all races to know that those people do not speak for the race.
exactly.
That is those people, and that's their dirty character. But they do not speak for the race any more than the images that the people on TV, when they control the images and they do their best to make us all look angry.
Yes.
That's not true either. And the only way we're going to get to the bottom of who people are is to get to the bottom of who people are, like persons are, individually.
Yes.
And that's why we got to talk. You can't do it without talking. That's like rumors. When you hear rumors about people and then you decide or you make a judgment about them without ever like entering the course of their life intimately. Then when you get to know them, how many times have we been wrong? You look at somebody, you think, I don't even like her. And then you get to know her. It's like, well, I had you all wrong. You really are a nice person. And that's what we have to do. And like you said, women have the ability, women are kind of like, the neck. Like the man could be the head, but the neck turns the head anyway. So if women will get involved in this and we start speaking to each other, then we start speaking to the children, and then we can speak to the husbands, and we can speak to the men, and just kind of get an understanding. Just do what we can do. I'm looking for my like people as a whole to kind of stand up. I said to Susan when she called me about this, Susan Panzica, again from Moms Talk Justice, which is a group that didn't exist. We're launching it on August 18th, kind of from our conversation. But I said to her, I'm so glad you want to do something because we need white people. If you look at the walks and
all those protests and things.
Protests in the 60s, white people were involved. If you think about Harriet Tubman and the escapes from slavery, she wasn't staying at black houses. White people, Quakers, people opened their home and hid us so we could get to slavery. And I would just love for everybody to understand we need each other.
Yes.
We need each other. And so for me to be angry and say, I don't want to have anything to do with a certain race of people is exactly what we're fighting against. When people say, oh, you want to go and befriend white people now after what they're doing to us, it's not white people. It's those people.
Yes.
People. Right. So I don't want to be like the people that I say that I dislike or I dislike their behavior. I would be doing the same thing if I said I don't have anything to do with certain, like a whole race of people. That's what we are fighting against right now.
Yes, absolutely.
So
yeah, that is awesome. Well, I am so glad that we were able to, come together today to allow you to be able to share with our viewers and everyone. And I am looking for this movement to just take off. Because I think what happens is as people come together like that it gives other people the courage, and the comfortability to say, you know what, we really can have a conversation and clear up a lot of misunderstandings, So I'm looking forward to it and everything to go well. And I'll have you back again, even as it progresses. So that, I told you have an open door back here anytime.
Thank you. It was so divine that you called me because it's the Lord's timing. Like you said, it is his timing. When you called me, it was perfect. Thank you so much. I thank the Lord for you. I pray the Lord's blessings on you, open doors for you. I pray that everything that you put your hands to will be blessed because your heart is pure and you really do want to make like an open door for other people to get their issues to the forefront. So I pray that the Lord bless you beyond anything that you can think. The Lord wants you to think as big as you can, and he's going to top it.
Thank you so much for that encouragement. I received that, and I pray. This is the Lord's doing. At this stage and age in life, only the Lord could keep me running. To wait until now I've done a few things, but I thank God, and like I said, anytime, and I look forward to it. So, if there's anything you want to say to the viewers as we close out, please have the final closing words.
All right. So I want to invite you all again, August 18th, Moms Talk Justice on Facebook Live. Also, visit me online. I'm winceyco.com, WINCEYCO.com. You can also find Wincey Co Music on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook. Thank you for having me.
Amen. Well, viewers, thank you so much. And as I said, all that information is going to be online here, so that when you want, when you're seeing this, you also see before the program concludes all the contact information for Wincey Co. Please keep up with her, because she is one that is always out in the forefront championing, different causes that really are so needful, being a voice for others who have no voice. So please make sure that you support her, and we're going to keep going and keep up with her. So God bless you. Don't forget, every Thursday, 7:30 p.m., Facebook page, Beverly D. Allen, YouTube channel, Beverly D. Allen Ministries, LLC. Watch the Well After Hours, because we're trying to bring important issues to the forefront and help those who are doing a wonderful work for the Lord to go forward in power. So God bless you. Thank you again, Wincey. God bless you. And we'll see you next Thursday. Thank you. Bye.
Well, good morning. Thanks for meeting in our place. I came to bless you and to thank you for this day, and ask for guidance and your presence. Please be with me on this day. While I'm dressing, let me thank you for these clothes. You've been faithful in providing, and it shows. So I thank you for my blessings. You're so gracious. Thank you, Lord. While I'm